I never thought moving into the idyllic Oakdale estates would turn me into some kind of amateur detective, but Corinne Wilkins, our HOA president, made sure of that. From the day I moved in, she ran the neighborhood like it was her own personal kingdom. I'd catch glimpses of her, peeking through her blinds, a clipboard always clutched in her hand, watching my every move. My house was perfect, my little slice of heaven after long days at the engineering firm. It had this beautiful in-ground pool, my sanctuary. Every evening, I'd slip into my swim trunks and just let the day melt away. At least, that's how it was until Corinne decided my pool was a personal insult to her authority. It started subtly, with a notice taped to my front door. It claimed my pool maintenance wasn't up to community standards. I was baffled. The water was crystal clear. I tested the chemicals twice a week, and the landscaping around it was pristine. I called the number on the notice, and of course, Corinne answered in this sickly sweet voice. "Oh, hello, Mr. Harrison. I'm just doing my duty as HOA president to protect property values," she said. The condescending tone made my skin crawl. "Several neighbors have complained," she added, "from the street. Your pool looks cloudy." Thinking a little transparency would solve the problem, I made a huge mistake. I invited her to come and inspect it herself. This just gave her an excuse to scrutinize everything. She strutted around my backyard in her beige pantsuit, clipboard at the ready, clicking her tongue. "Your patio furniture doesn't match the approved color palette," she declared, pointing at my perfectly normal navy blue loungers. "And these plants, they aren't on the approved list. You'll need to submit Form 37B for a variance." I tried to reason with her. "Corinne, I've read the bylaws cover to cover. There's nothing about specific furniture colors, and these plants are native and drought-resistant." Her eyes narrowed. "I know the bylaws better than anyone. Mr. Harrison, expect formal violation notices by tomorrow." She spun on her heel and marched off, leaving me completely stunned. Sure enough, the next day, 3 separate violation notices arrived, each threatening fines if I didn't comply within a week. I spent my entire weekend filling out the most ridiculous paperwork you've ever seen, all for variances that shouldn't have been necessary. I hoped that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next month, Corinne found something new every single week. My mailbox was a few inches too tall. My trash cans were visible for an hour too long on collection day. Even the American flag on my porch was suddenly an excessive patriotic display. I started documenting everything, dates, stamped photos, records of every conversation. A gut feeling told me I'd need evidence sooner or later. Then came the pool party incident. I had invited a few colleagues over for a small Saturday barbecue, just 6 of us enjoying some burgers and the pool. Around 4 p.m., Corinne appeared at my fence, phone in hand, recording everything. "This is a violation of noise ordinances and guest parking policies," she announced loudly, making my friends visibly uncomfortable as she snapped pictures of their cars. "Gatherings of more than 4 guests require HOA approval," she added with a smug look. I tried to keep my cool. "Corinne, there's no such rule in the bylaws. We're not being loud. We're just talking." She just smirked. "I've called an emergency HOA board meeting to address your continued violations." Then, just to twist the knife, she added, "Oh, and your pool's still in up to standards. The chlorine levels are probably all wrong." After my guests left, feeling awkward and apologetic, I checked my security cameras. I'd installed them after the 3rd or 4th bizarre violation. What I saw made my blood run cold. While I was inside getting drinks for my friends, the footage showed Corinne creeping up to my pool. She looked around furtively, then pulled a small container from her purse and sprinkled something into the water. I ran outside and immediately tested the pool. The pH was completely out of whack, and my home test kit was showing something unusual in the chemical balance it couldn't identify. I scooped a sample into a sterile container and called a professional pool service for an emergency test. The results confirmed my worst fears. Someone had poured industrial-strength alkaline cleaner into my pool. It was enough to cause serious skin irritation, even chemical burns. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was dangerous, and I had her on camera. The queen of the HOA was about to be dethroned. Thanks for watching, and if you have a crazy neighbor story of your own, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. That night, I just couldn't get any sleep. My mind kept replaying what could have happened. What if one of my friends had actually jumped back into that pool? Or worse, what if I had invited my colleagues who have young kids over that day? The thought was terrifying. The very next morning, I didn't waste any time. I grabbed the water test results and the security footage and went straight to the police station. An officer, Rodriguez, listened to my story and reviewed all the evidence I brought. His expression grew more and more serious. "This isn't just some neighborly spat anymore, Mr. Harrison," he said. "What we have here is criminal behavior. We're looking at vandalism, trespassing, and potentially assault if anyone had gotten hurt. We're going to need formal statements, and we will be following up with Miss Wilkins." Finally, it felt like a huge weight was lifted. Someone was actually taking this seriously. "There's more," I told him, and I pulled out the big folder. It was filled with months and months of documented harassment, every single incident meticulously recorded. Officer Rodriguez took the folder and flipped through the pages, his face grim. He just nodded. 2 days later, I was out in my front yard, just trying to do some gardening. I saw a police cruiser pull up right in front of Karen's house. I tried my best to look busy with my plants, but you can bet I was watching everything. Officer Rodriguez and a female officer walked right up to her front door. The conversation was short, and then Karen just erupted. It was like a volcano going off. Even from all the way across the street, I could hear her screaming about her authority as the HOA president. Things escalated really fast. She flat out refused to cooperate and tried to slam the door right in the officers' faces. Officer Rodriguez put his foot in the doorway to stop it, and that's when she tried to push past them to get to her car. In a matter of moments, they had her in handcuffs and were reading her rights. All up and down the street, you could see curtains twitching as neighbors peeked out to watch the drama unfold. Then she saw me across the street. "This is all your fault," she shrieked. "I was protecting our property values. You're the one ruining this neighborhood with your noncompliance." Officer Rodriguez calmly guided her into the back of the police car while she just kept on ranting. Seeing her get arrested, I didn't feel happy or triumphant. I just felt relief. A deep, profound sense of relief that this nightmare might finally be over. That same evening, the HOA vice president gave me a call. He told me that Karen had been officially charged with criminal trespass, vandalism, and reckless endangerment. The board had held an emergency meeting, and they had unanimously voted to remove her as president, effective immediately. But the consequences didn't stop there. The local news channels got a hold of the story, and it turned out this wasn't Karen's first rodeo. They uncovered a history of her terrorizing other neighborhoods before she ever moved into ours. In the past, other HOA boards had just handled her complaints quietly, which allowed her to just pack up, move, and start her reign of terror all over again somewhere else. But this time was different, with actual criminal charges filed. Everything was now public record. About 3 weeks later, a letter from the court arrived. Karen had taken a plea deal. She got 6 months of probation, mandatory community service, and a restraining order that required her to stay at least 100 feet away from my property at all times. She also had to pay full restitution for all the damages, including the $2,000 bill for cleaning the pool. But the final nail in the coffin came a little later. Karen was a real estate agent, specializing in high-end, exclusive communities. She was called to appear before the state licensing board. I decided to go, and I sat quietly in the back of the hearing room. I watched as her shoulders just slumped when they announced their decision. Her real estate license was suspended for 1 full year. For the first time since I'd met her, Karen Wilkins was utterly and completely speechless.